Hello there, a warm welcome to the 2021 Racing Post Cheltenham preview in partnership with Bet365. I'm Bruce Millington, and joining me to look ahead to an unusual but hopefully fantastic festival are three of the finest judges in the Racing Post, or anywhere else for that matter, in the studio. I'm joined by Paul Kealy, and we've also got on the line David Jennings and Tom Segal. We're going to go through all 28 races, making up 4 fantastic days. Hopefully some decent price winners in there for you. So grab a pen and paper. Let's go. Before we look at each individual race, I've just got a quick question for each of the lads. Keels, what do you think the ground is going to be like? Because the weather forecast, as with all these things, it's never settled, is it? But it looks particularly unsettled. We could get good, we could get soft, couldn't we?
Yeah, I mean, it looks unsettled, but I mean, every forecast I've been in, I've gone through as many websites as I could look at. We're forecasting a maximum of an inch of rain between now and Tuesday. Now, at this time of year, given the temperature's supposed to rise and it's supposed to be windy, that to me can't be anything much more than ground maintaining. You're only talking 3 to 4 mil a day, aren't you? So I'm thinking that, you know, in the last few years, it's been just as likely to be bottomless at Cheltenham as it has been for the rest of the season. But we could be going back to one of those other years where we've got form throughout the season that's come on absolutely bottomless ground, and then you've got to Cheltenham and it's completely different.
So that's another puzzle, isn't it, for everyone to consider. DJ, looking at the Irish Challenge, obviously we've had all the kerfuffle with Gordon Elliott coming into the festival, but there was talk, wasn't there, that far few Irish raiders this year. Is that likely to materialise, that forecast?
I think so. In the handicaps, definitely, Bruce. Like even a horse like Latest Exhibition, I think in other years that horse would definitely be either running the Brown Advisory or running the National Hunt Chase or something, but he's going to go for the Ryanair Gold Cup. There's a lot of kind of those type of horses, a little bit just below the top level, that I think will just miss the festival. But the big guns are all going to be there. Everything that's trained by Willie Mullins and Sneezy Foster, no less.
Absolutely. And Tom, just talk us through how the jump season has developed this year and whether that might lead to a slightly different Cheltenham. I mean, obviously all the racing's taking place, there's been no crowds. Has it basically effectively, from a punting perspective and a pure racing perspective, been a perfectly standard jump season? Are you looking into this as just going to be exactly the same kind of Cheltenham, or has the kind of effects of COVID and all the various things that have happened potentially led you to think there might be some slightly different ways of looking at these races?
Not really, Bruce. I think it's been pretty standard. I mean, I do think DJ cottoned onto something there. I do think some owners might not want to run their horses as much as they would in the past. I think they buy horses for the Cheltenham experience and the Cheltenham, the buzz of being in the winners' enclosure at Cheltenham. So I do think there'll be less runners. I don't think they're going to be as competitive some of the races as they have been in the past. But it's still Cheltenham, and it's still going to be brilliant, and there's still, I can't wait. I don't think it's going to be that much different, to be honest.
So say all of us. One big difference, I should imagine, will be the Paul Kealy alcohol consumption, but we'll come to that. Kills, we'll start off with the first race on Tuesday. It's the Sky Bet Supreme. It starts at 120. Appreciate It is a short-priced favourite. Is this one of the races that punters can latch onto, kick off with the favourite and go on from there, or should we be looking elsewhere?
Well, I mean, from what I've read, everybody, all the top pundits and myself want to oppose him. And normally what happens in this case, they get absolutely battered off the boards and they win hard held, don't they? But I think this is one, as I was mentioning earlier about the ground, all his form has come on really, really bottomless ground, and if it does dry out, he's got something to prove because he's got an action that suggests he wants soft ground. He looks like a proper staying 2-miler as well, rather than a speed horse. And personally, I think Metier, or perhaps one of the others, I was thinking Soaring Glory, but again, his owner was talking about missing the race because he can't be there. So I think Metier is the most likely danger. He's got that bit of flat speed having come from the flat. Might want soft ground as well, but I don't think, because he's won on soft on the flat, it'd be more like good to soft over jumps anyway, so I think he'd be fine on it. I'm hoping he has too much speed.
Okay, let's move across to what looks a prison cell to hear from David Jennings. David, is Appreciate It one of those favourites you've been dying to take on, but as we get nearer the time you think, hang on a sec, I've got nothing to take it on with?
Exactly, Bruce. You couldn't have put it any better. For the last 2 weeks, I've been saying Appreciated is definitely one to take on. And just as the races got closer, you're trying to find anything to take him on with. And the only one I think could be a little bit of value, kind of from an each-way perspective, is a stablemate Blue Lord, who I thought was really keen in the Lawlers and Nates novice hurdle over 2.5 miles. I think it's really strongly run 2 miles is what he wants. But I disagree with Keels on one point. I think Appreciated's best run so far, or maybe his second best run, because he's very impressive at Christmas. I thought his best run so far, apart from that run, was on yielding ground at the Dublin Racing Festival in the bumper last year. His time in that bumper was exceptional when you compare it to Honeysuckle in the Irish Champion Hurdle. So the ground doesn't bother me as much. There's going to be enough cutting it for Appreciated. And as you said, Bruce, it's just trying to find anything to beat him. And I don't think there's anything in there. I'd be shocked if Metier beat him. And then you're into the rest of them. If Soaring Glory doesn't run, where do you get to? I can't find anything, Bruce. I think Appreciated will win.
Over to you, Tom, for your supreme thoughts.
I think, Bruce, the forgotten horse is Ballyadam. I think that he ran really well at the Dublin, was it the Dublin Racing Festival behind Appreciated last time. He was beaten 3 lengths. Coming to the last, I thought Appreciated was going to run right away from him. Ballyadam hit the last, sort of lost a bit of momentum, but was coming back at him at the line, I think, on good ground. And given the form of the yard, which wasn't very good at that time, I think he's going to get a lot closer to Appreciated. I think the ground will help him. I think he's becoming the forgotten horse of the race. He's a Grade 1 winner. And I just think we're going to see his best performance on Tuesday. And I'm not certain we're going to see that from Appreciated. I'm a bit like Keels. I think Metier does have a chance. But I'm looking around for anything out of the front three. And it's really hard to find. It'll be interesting when the decks come in, because there's horses at 33, 40, 50 to 1. And bookmakers will be paying 5, 6 places in the first race. They always do. There'll be some good value around, but at the moment, my selection would be Ballyadam.
OK, don't forget to get the Racing Post every day next week during Cheltenham for Tom and Paul's latest thoughts, DJ as well, obviously. Right, we move on to the 155 on Tuesday, and if you like fantastic duels, this could be the race of the week. It's the Sporting Life Arkle. And all winter long, we thought this was a penalty kick for Shishkin, but along has come a rival in the shape of Energumene, and they could have an epic duel. Really looking forward to this. Who's going to come out on top, David Jennings?
Shishkin, Bruce. Just to put it in a little bit of context, a lot of people mightn't have heard of Energumene at the start of the season, but I spoke to David Mullins, and the first day that horse schooled in Cloysutton, somebody said to David, "What's that horse?" And he said, "That's next year's Arkle winner." So that was before he jumped the fence. So that's how highly they regarded him even at the start of the season. But I just think with Shishkin, like at the moment with Bet365, he's 10 to 11. And maybe he'll drift on the day and they'll get closer together. But are we not witnessing something a little bit special here? Something a little bit different? Something, along the lines of Altior and Sprinter Sacra? I'm certainly seeing those things anyway. And to me, I cannot believe he's not shorter. I really can't. I can't have All Mankind. There's 13 fences in the Arkle. I don't think he's going to jump 13 fences cleanly. To me, Shishkin is probably the most talented horse run at the Cheltenham Festival, and you're getting 10 to 11 at the moment about the most talented horse run at the Cheltenham Festival winning a novice chase. And to me, that's value, Bruce. OK,
do you agree with that, Tom?
I do, actually, yeah. I do. I think he's a brilliant racehorse. He's done absolutely nothing wrong, as we've seen. The only slight thing I've got against him, Bruce, is Cheltenham. I think they've kept him away from it. I know he won the Supreme last year, but I didn't think he was... And there was lots about the Supreme last year that went wrong for him, clearly, but I never thought he was that happy. He was a big drifter on the day. I didn't understand that. He was 2 to 1 in the morning and started 6s. He did win, but there was a lot of carnage in the Supreme last year. I'm not sure that form is as good as he's shown previous and after. So that's my only slight doubt about him. But I agree with DJ. I think he might be the best horse running at the festival. And listen, I hope he wins. I think he probably will.
Is it 3 votes for Shishkin, Keels?
Yeah, I'm a big fan. I mean, I'm not a fan of calling a horse a superstar until it's done it in open company. But, he has looked really, really good. Way, way better than any of the British runners. And Energumene does look also very good. Can't get that wrong. But he is going to be taken on by All Mankind. I don't necessarily share the worries about All Mankind's jumpings. Dan Skelton said quite rightly that the ground at Warwick was absolutely awful that day, and he was sliding around into the fences, whereas on his 2 previous runs he jumped absolutely perfectly. So, but they are going to take each other on, and I just see Shishkin picking up the pieces.
Do we get 8 runners so we can play All Mankind each way, do you think, or not?
I don't know. I just have this feeling that we're going to get small fields for this, the Marsh and the Brown Advisory. You only have to have a look at the next race coming up to see how many novices are in that.
And obviously that's the point that Tom raised at the start, of course. All these owners who want to go and have a runner and have a great day and have a bite to it, that doesn't happen this year, so it could impact, couldn't it? Yeah. OK, the 2:30 at Cheltenham on Tuesday is the Ultima Handicap Chase. It's a race that Keels likes quite a lot. Every year he's always got one for us. We'll find out who he fancies after we hear Tom's thoughts.
Yeah, Keels made a good point about the novices there. If you look at the market at the moment, I think the top 5 in the market are all novices. Now, novices have a great record in these open handicaps at the festival, Bruce. And I think Happy Go Lucky's a novice, Lieutenant Rocco's a novice, one for the team's a novice, Escaria 10 remastered. You go down, Cocoa Beach, if he runs, I think he's next in. So it is going to affect the other races, and it makes this race all the better because I think we've got lots of unexposed horses. I know Kim Bailey's very keen on Happy Go Lucky. He got beaten at Fakenham by Getaway Trump, and I think Getaway Trump can beat lots of horses on his day, but I think he's been trained for the race. Lieutenant Rocco jumped brilliantly at Foss Lass the other day and is the type of horse that will love any rain that falls. He's the one horse on the first day that will be completely dependent on a lot of rain, I think. I think if the rain comes, I'd fancy him strongly. One for the team might not get in. Escaria 10's an interesting one, Bruce. He ran well in a graded race the other day. He runs here. He would be my selection. But if the rain comes, I would be a big fan of Lieutenant Rocco. But I think I'm probably stealing Keels' thunder there.
OK, Keels, has Tom stolen your thunder with Lieutenant Rocco?
Yeah, I really do like him. I was going on about him for quite a while, and I was saying he'll beat all these plodders because he's a novice. And but now when you look at it, there are some very interesting novices running against him, or likely to run against him anyway. You could have Remastered, who's obviously won the Reynolds Stand. You could have Happy Go Lucky, who looks very good, and Escaria 10 that Tom mentioned. But for me, he's a natural front runner who jumps really, really well. He's going to be out of trouble. You always get in trouble in these races. As long as the ground is good to soft, he'll be fine. My worry was Nick Mitchell, of course, was mentioning that he was a bit worried about running him against all these established chasers rather than novices. But 3 out of the last 7 winners of this have been novices, so it doesn't bother me. Just want him to make the decision and turn up there.
Absolutely. Off to the rather minimalistic surroundings of David Jennings Towers. DJ, what's your view on the Ultima? Oh, well, look at that. That's more like it. Beautiful. Oh, very nice.
Yeah, I got these
dead,
delivered
DJ.
to myself. Yeah, I actually got them for IFA for Valentine's Day. Would you believe?
They've lasted well, mate.
Blimey! No wonder they're dead.
Yeah, look, I went through this race yesterday actually for a good while, and the best handicapped horse in this race, without any shadow of a doubt in my head, is Sam Brown. Now, I don't know whether he's going to run or not, and the chances are he mightn't. He's missed a load of engagements this year. I fancied him for so many races. But his performance at Carlisle back in November in that Colin Parker race, he was giving Imperial Aura £2 and he was beaten 3 lengths. That's a hell of a performance. He wasn't touched. His mark wasn't touched afterwards. I thought he'd win the Old Hennessy at Newbury. He didn't get there. He hasn't ran since. But he's still declared for this race. And if that rain arrives, that Keel says, that it does be on the soft side of good, I just wonder, could this be his target now? And we know he goes well fresh. He won after 2 years. One of his best ever performances was after over 2 years off at Lingfield. I know he does need cutting the ground, but he hasn't run since November. He comes here fresh. He's rated 152. I think he's the best handicapped horse in the race. So if he did show up, he'd certainly be the one I'm interested in.
Let's move on to the big race on Tuesday, 3:05. It's the Unibet Champion Hurdle. Really looking forward to this. The 2 mares, Honeysuckle and Epatante, against Goshen. Will it be one of the big 3, or will one of the others gate crash the party? Paul Kealy.
I'm hoping it'll be one of the others. I mean, it's fascinating. I don't think Honeysuckle will get the easy... Well, she just won't get the freebie that she got last time. Doesn't mean she can't win it, but Goshen is going to keep everybody honest. And, he's a fantastic horse, a real sort of unknown quantity, because we just don't know how good he is, because when he's been on form, nothing's been able to get to within 10 lengths with him.
Why do we not know how good he is? He would have won the Triumph by half the
track,
the whole point. And he did win the
The whole point is nothing has got anywhere near him, but he actually hasn't run against a top-class Champion Earl type horse. really. Like, I'm not convinced that Aspire Tower ran his race last year, and he's a better horse this year anyway. So we don't quite know how good he is. Epatante comes in under a cloud with a new jockey. Now, no disrespect to Aidan Coleman, but Barry Garrett is one of the best hurdle riders around Cheltenham there is. So that is a consideration. I like Abacadabras and Sharjah. Abacadabras, if Shishkin might have got in a load of trouble in the Supreme last year, but take him out of it, he'd have won it by 11 lengths. He's got 10 lengths to find on Honeysuckle, but he will get the race he wants this time. He'll get a fast run race on better ground, and I think that'll suit him. It'll very much suit Sharjah, who was way off the pace last year when second, and he was still last at the top of the hill when Epatante was second, and Darva Starr was in front or third. So I think he was third because Petit Mouchoir was still making the run in. So he was a long way off the ones that fought out the finish, and to come through and finish second. I wouldn't worry about his run at Leopardstown last time. He just doesn't like that particular track that they race the Dublin Racing Festival on. So for me, those two each way. Bit of luck, the field will hold up, and you'll get 4 places on the day at least.
What are you going to do, DJ? Focus on the market leaders or look elsewhere?
No, I'm actually going to look elsewhere. I think any of the 3 could win it, and I think probably with the mayor's allowance, Honeysuckle is the most likely winner. But it just reminds me a bit of a few years ago when you had Lorena, Apples Jade, and Bouvard Air, and we were building up to like the race of the decade kind of thing, and everybody had their own opinion on it. And then this kind of unexposed 5-year-old comes out and wins it by a mile in Espoir d'Alen. Now, I'm not saying Aspire Tower is going to do that, and I'm not quite sure yet how good Aspire Tower is. But I know he's a far better horse this year than he was in the second half of last season. And I thought his performance when he was beaten by Sharjah was a big run. He made a mess of the second last, and Sharjah kind of got him for toe. But a strongly run 2 miles, exactly what he wants. Robbie Power has been booked to ride, and he beat Abacadabras, albeit getting weight reasonably comfortably at Down Royal earlier on in the season. I just think he's the one that's probably a little bit overpriced. And each way or a plates angle with Aspire Tower against the front 3 would be the way I'm going, Bruce.
And Tom, what about you? Fancied runner or outsider?
I think Goshen's a good thing, Bruce.
Yeah, thank God for that. That's why you're the main man. These two guesses desperately trying to ignore the obvious, and Tom Segal nails it. Come on, mate.
I think he was brilliant at Wincanton. I haven't seen a horse hit the line as hard as he did in heavy ground for about 10 years. I thought he was absolutely outstanding. I thought he was outstanding at the Cheltenham Festival last year. I just don't think they'll get near him. I think he'll win easily.
All these theories that race at Wincanton fell apart. None of the others did their running. How does anyone know that? I mean,
Song for Someone couldn't go from the start.
What do you mean?
I don't care.
He was beaten from the start.
He hit the line so hard. I just don't see anything in his class. I really don't. I think he's an absolute brilliant racehorse, and I think he'll win easily.
Lovely, Tom. I like to hear that. I'm sure we may be wrong, but anyway, let's hope Goshen gets it done. 3:40 Cheltenham Tuesday is the Close Brothers Mares Hurdle. A strong favourite in the form of Willie Munnings Concertista. Will she get the job done, do you think, DJ?
I think she will, yeah. I think there's going to be very few runners. There's only 12 left in it at the moment, like only 12 at this stage. It's hard to believe. Roxana obviously is a very, very good mare in her own right, but I just think Concertista is getting better all the time, and she's a short price, but she's won at the festival. She's better this year than she was last year. She was brilliant last year, albeit in a poor race. Look, I'm not going to take up too much time, Bruce. I think Concertista will win.
Would you echo that, Tom?
A little bit lukewarm, not about her ability, just about the vibes recently. She's been drifting in the market. I know there's been money around for a few others. Seemed quite strange because, as DJ pointed out, there's not that many in there to take her on. I wondered whether Dame de Compagnie might run really well against her. She won the Coral Cup last year and fell over fences last time, but I think she'll give Concertista something to think about for sure.
And Keels.
I'm a Concertista fan. I can understand where it comes from Dame de Compagnie, but she's run there twice, hasn't she? She made a debut in the novice race 2 years ago and only got beat a short head, and then she came out and she won it by a street last year. She looks every bit as good.
Can't have Roxana?
I think she's a stayer. It's one of those things. Dan Scantle, I'm in an eye over where to go, and he said only if it was. Well, he did say if it looked like being good ground, they might end up in the Stayers Hurdle. because she's a really, really strong stayer. And if it's soft or good to soft, she'd end up here. It makes sense for her to go here because there's arguably only one or two horses to beat rather than a really competitive race like that. But I do think she's a 3-miler now.
OK, we'll move on to the 4:15. It's the Boodles Juvenile Handicap Hurdle, formerly known as the Fred Winter. Tricky old puzzle this. Solve it, Tom.
Guys, it's another one of those, Bruce, where every time I turn on the telly or someone, there's another, or turn on the computer, there's another one that's been well backed, another one that's well fancied. If it was St. Sam last week, it was Hooghry the other day, it's Cold Tart or whatever it's called today. It's one of those races I think we've got to wait till see how the weights come out, because at the moment we've got Xana here and Quilixios at the top of the weights. I don't think either of them are going to run, so I think the race could be transformed as to how it looks now compared to how it does on the day. I don't know if St. Sam will run, because I think if he ends up with top rate, he might end up running in the Triumph Hurdle as well. One I like is Bustleton, who's trained by Joseph O'Brien. He was placed behind Quilixios last time. I think Joseph had won this with Band of Outlaws not long ago, sort of the type of horse that he would have targeted at the race. So at the moment, he's on my radar, but I think this has all changed this race. I think we're going to see some down the bottom that come right into it, which we haven't considered.
OK, well, Keels might be able to pinpoint one of those. I was reading his excellent Weekender column this morning, and you've sussed one at a big price, haven't you?
Yeah, it's funny. Somebody contacted me on Twitter the other day and asked me what I thought about a certain horse for the Boodles, and it dawned on me that I hadn't actually looked at the race at all, and I was going to have to preview it in a couple of days. So I went right into it, and basically what I discovered is that when the weight range is really narrow, I mean, the 3 times the weight range has been really, really narrow, as in 11 or 12 pound from top to bottom weight, it's been won by something near the top. And when it's been a really wide band, it's been won by something near the bottom. And I think part of that is because, a lot of people are just trying to get their horses handicapped so they're good enough to win races. And sometimes they creep into a race they didn't expect to get in. I mean, you've got to remember, What a Charm that won this for half and more years ago. That was 1,000 to 1 to get in the race 2 weeks earlier, right? But did. And suddenly they got this ludicrously well handicapped horse that they probably had in mind to run up a sequence, just gets in and on this ridiculously low rate, smashed off the boards and wins. So I think there'll be ones down the bottom. And I saw one called Curious Bride, who was a big price. Had 2 really good starts over hurdles, finished second and then first, and then ran in a 2.5 mile race at Navan for all-age mares, listed company, on absolutely bottomless ground. You can't get a stiffer track anywhere than Navan. And there was no way on earth that she was ever going to stay, but she was also held up. I'm assuming she was going to get the trip, but if you look at her form, she's never done anything when she's been held up. All her form has been going from the front, and the time before when she won, she had Coulter behind her, she had Zafanian behind her. They're going to meet on similar weight terms. I think Coulter's about 10 to 1, Zafanian's about 14 to 1, and she was 40 to 1 this morning, and she's still 33 to 1 in places everywhere. So she just quite interested me. I think the best British one would be Richard Newland's Sage Advice, another one who disappointed last time, but again on absolutely horrible ground at Fontwell. I forgive any horse that. McFabulous couldn't go a yard on it the other day in the National Spirit. Miles better than that run. So I'd let him off, and I think his other form is good. OK,
Curious Bride is Keels' selection. Who's your selection, DJ?
God, I wasn't expecting that. I know Curious Bride well. Train down the road. Interesting. The form has worked out for Punchestown. That took me by surprise. I've said for months now that I think St. Sam is the Boodles winner in waiting. Now, I've done my very best. Anybody who has backed him, I have spoke to Willie Mullins so many times about this horse. Spoke to lads in the stable so many times about this horse, begging them to run St. Sam here off a mark of 139. I think the owner is keen to run in the Triumph, but I just think everything has gone wrong for him since he's arrived in Ireland. He was hammered by Danny here first time out. Then, David Mullins even admitted, he gave him an absolute shocker of a ride at Leopardstown over Christmas. Then he comes out and finished second to Quilixios when he's too keen and has to make his own running. He just needs a strongly run 2 miles where he gets a little bit of cover, and he will prove that mark to be way below of what he's capable of. But it all depends on the genius that is Willie Mullins, unfortunately, Bruce. OK,
thank you, DJ. The final race on Tuesday takes place at 4:50. It's the Sam Vesti National Hunt Challenge Cup. Used to be known as the 4-miler, but isn't anymore because it's not over 4 miles. It's over 3 miles and 6. And we've got one of the big conundrums. Normally going into Cheltenham, Tom, there's a zillion horses who you don't know where they're going to run, and this year doesn't seem to be quite so many, but one we do not know about, and is obviously pivotal to this, is Royal Piguet. That's a terrible pronunciation. What do you say, Kills? Piguet. Okay, we'll go with that. First of all, does anyone have a clue about where it's going to run yet? Actually, Kills, we'll probably come to you first because you're mates with Richie's racing manager. What's the latest on where it's likely to run?
I mean, for all the time, I've thought all the time that they were leaning towards the Gold Cup. The market tells you otherwise, but it is a non-runner, no-bet market. So if people are thinking, well, hang on a minute, look what's likely to run. I mean, you were talking about latest exhibition not going, for instance. So people have started smashing in. So when I spoke to Joe the other day, he said, look, we haven't discussed it since I last spoke to you. That was as simple as that. So I don't know. I'd imagine they, like everybody else, are looking at the forecast. And if they think we might get softish ground on day one and it might be getting quite quick by day 4, they'll end up day 1 and they'll end up running. And
will it win if it runs?
I'd imagine so, yeah. I mean, he's really, really classy. He has to be to do what he did both at Kempton and Haydock. And I know you can poo-poo the form, the way that race fell apart at Haydock. But Venetia Williams said straight afterwards, I was hoping he'd win like that, which means she knows exactly how good he is. So for me, he's just going to be very hard to beat where he goes, and he will run a decent race in the Gold Cup.
Okay. DJ, what are your thoughts on the National Hunt Chase?
Yeah, it's narrowed down to 17 now. There's 17 left in it. I think there's going to be a big plunge on Lord Royal here. I think when people realise that this is Willie Mullins' only runner in the race, that Paul Townend is going to ride, and he has a bit of class from last season over hurdles. He's been a disappointing horse, but the key thing at Navan last time was just to get him to finish out his race. That's all that mattered, and that's what he did. He's a really good jumper, even though he fell at the second last at Thurles. All he does is plod. He just plods and plods and jumps and plods. And I just think this race is tailor-made for him. He was a big price the other day at 16-1. I think he's the type of horse that'll go off about 13-2.
Okay. Tom, sorry, I was going to come to you first, but we got waylaid. We're better late than never. Who wins the National Hunt Chase?
Well, certainly not Lord Royal. That can start. It can start. I think it'll start 33-1, let alone 13-2. DJ, it's got absolutely no chance whatsoever.
Will you give me a bit of 33s? Will you?
Well, I won't give you 33s, no, because it's 14s. You can back it with them at 14s. I'm slightly against Royal Piguet a little bit. I think he'll run here. I definitely think he'll run here because I think they'll see that this race is going to cut up with latest exhibition out, Cocoa Beach out, Secret Reprieve out. I think they'll end up running here. I'm slightly against him. It's just he's going to be 6-4, never run at Cheltenham, up in trip, up in distance, hasn't run for a few weeks. Might have been flattered by the Haydock run. The form, for me, is worthless. I think the horses he beat are all veterans. But he's clearly got a lot of ability. We've seen that twice, so I understand why he's favourite.
Okay, that was day 1. If you're only having one bet on day 1, who would it be, Paul Kealy?
Lieutenant Rocco in the Ultima.
DJ?
And just to spite Tom Segal, Lord Royal in the 450, the National Hunt Chase.
Oh, Tom.
Bruce will be together with Goshen.
Good man, that's it. Go on the Gosh. Right then, let's move on to Wednesday, and the action starts with a bang. What a race this is going to be. 120. It's the Ballamore Novices Hurdle. Some real crackers in here. Looking forward to this. Bob Ollinger, Gaillard de Menil, Brave Man's Game. A really, really interesting. I mean, it's always a terrific race, this, obviously. I think the market's got this wrong, DJ. Brave Man's Game. Shouldn't that be Fav?
Absolutely, yeah. Obviously, two big Irish challengers against him, and you think I'd be patriotic and go for one of them, but this betting is all wrong. All wrong, I think. I love Brave Man's Game, and I know people are thinking he's a plodder. I don't think he's a plodder. The time in the Challow was exceptional when you compare it to the handicap hurdle run on the same card over the same trip. And to me, Challow winners have a desperate record in the Ballymore. We know that. But a couple of years ago, we were saying class horses can't win the Alba Bartlett, and then Manila Indo and Monkfish wins it. So these things do change. And I think Brave Man's Game is good enough to change that stat. To me, he's the most exciting novice with regard to a future Gold Cup horse I've seen in a long time. And I can't wait to see him in action. Yeah, I think he should be favoured.
Where is your money going to be going, Tom Segal?
Not on Gaillard de Menil, Bruce. Don't like that one. Didn't like the form of the race at Leopardstown over Christmas. I think he's too short. I think it's between the other two. I've personally had a few quid on Bob Ollinger, but I get the Brave Man's Game. I personally think it's between those two. I'm siding just slightly with Bob Ollinger, but I'm quite happy to see Brave Man's Game win as well. So I'll probably end up backing both.
Kills, when I was saying to DJ that I fancied Brave Man's Game, you gave me one of those looks as if to say, what do you know about it, you idiot? You spend about 3 seconds a week in the form book. So am I right in thinking you don't rate that?
No, not at all. I'm the same as Tom. I think it's between the two. I was actually thinking that I might have looked at you at the start of DJ's where you said you might expect me to be patriotic. I don't understand why anybody would want to be patriotic when it comes to horse racing.
No, that's right.
You just want to find out. It's all about betting.
Well,
isn't it?
you don't anyway, because you just won't train any winners.
You want to find out. You want to find out what the best horse is and then back it. I don't care where it's trained.
No, that's right. I mean, everyone goes on about that Pressbury Cup, and I've had people go, "Oh, look, you're getting slaughtered in the Pressbury Cup." I'm like, I don't care. I really don't care which piece of land that sticks out the sea that a horse happens to be trained on.
If Ireland wins 28 races and I've managed to back 12 of them, I'll be absolutely delighted. I just don't care. I mean, really, who gives a monkeys about the Pressbury Cup? I can't even understand why somebody dreamt it up. But there you go.
I'm just checking Racing Post aren't sponsoring it this year. No, we're not. Go on,
But no, I give Bob Ollinger the edge. I think he'll end up going off favourite. I think he's a lovely horse, and I think Brave Man's Game is too. But I think Bob Ollinger may be the one with that bit more speed.
Okay. There's a few race names that have changed this year. What used to be the RSA is now the Brown Advisory Novices Chase. It takes place at 1:55, and for many people, Monkfish is the banker of the week. Would you agree with that, Tom Segal?
Probably, yeah. I mean, he's just such a brilliant jumper, Bruce. He does it all so easily. I think, like Keel said earlier, that he is going. These novice races are going to cut up. I think it's going to be a 7-8 runner field. I think the only danger to him might be the big breakaway. Colin Tizard's horse, he had a double the other day. I think he's coming back into form. I thought he ran a really good race in the Feltham, considering the track was wrong. He made a few jumping errors. I love the fact that he's been left off for the race since this. He reminds me of a few previous winners of the race, top of the game, who didn't win the Feltham as well and came here. I think he is the one that can give Monkfish most to do, but I don't really see it. I think Monkfish might be the good thing of the whole meeting, if truth be told.
My anti-post is absolutely laughable, Kills. It's just disastrous. But I do have Monkfish at 6s. He's not going to let me down, is he?
I wouldn't have thought so. I mean, you've got the question mark if the ground gets really fast because, like I said, all the form all season is on really soft ground. But I don't think it's a worry. I mean, he just looks fantastic. I was going to it. I cannot find an example of Racing Post ratings giving any staying novice a 170 before Cheltenham in any year going back as far as I could look back to the 90s. So I think, he does look something special. He blew everybody away at Dublin with what he did over a trip that everyone thought was too short. Surely he wins. He's going to be fab for the Gold Cup afterwards.
DJ, if they decided to go for the Gold Cup this year with Monkfish, what price would you reckon he'd be?
He would be 5-2. That would be my guess. I think he'd be favourite. Just one thing, to put this in perspective, the year of novice chasers that we're having, 5 of them are rated higher than Denman was after he won the RSA, which is unbelievable. Do you know what I mean? He was rated 161 after he demolished Snowy Morning or whatever in the RSA. And 5 of these are already rated higher than him this year at the festival. That's incredible, absolutely incredible. Monkfish could well be the next big thing, and he'll win. I'd imagine he'll win. But just from a punting perspective, the big breakaway shouldn't be a double figure price. There's no way. He has so much natural raw ability. Yes, his jumping leaves a bit to be desired, but he's going to get plenty of space here, Bruce. There's not going to be a big field. He's going to be able to get into a rhythm. He's not going to be in amongst horses. And unless he tips over, I don't see how he doesn't finish in the first 3. He ran really well at Christmas when Colin Tizards weren't running well. So now that they're coming back into form, I think he's had 3 or 4 winners in the last few days. I think he's a really good horse. I think he'll coming down to last, you're going to be like, will Monkfish actually win here? And then he will. But I think the big breakaway will be giving you that scare.
Okay, from a race that looks reasonably easy to solve to one that doesn't, the 230s, the Coral Cup, always really tricky, really massive field. We'll see what the lads fancy those. Keels, are you going into this one with supreme confidence?
No, not really. But Nicky Henderson has won 4 of the last 11. He's got some very, very interesting runners. I did like Allard. I have heard that he might not be going, but if he does go, the run he had against Fiddler on the Roof, which was over fences at Ascot, just showed that he's going to be a miles better horse at 2.5 mile than he was last year at 2 mile, and he was 5th in the Supreme. But I like Craig Nesh as well of Henderson's, and he's got a couple of others in there as well. I think Birchdale. So he's got a strong hand, and I'll be looking at them closely.
Okay, DJ, have you got one for us in the Coral Cup?
Yeah, Keels has mentioned about 10 Nicky Henderson trained horses there to have a chance, and I fancy another one. Yeah, I'm pretty sweet on Monte Cristo here, Bruce. Hasn't ran since Christmas, picked up a cut on his leg, I think, after that win at Kempton. So he comes here fresh, but I thought that was a pretty explosive performance at Kempton. It kind of got forgotten because it was Boxing Day and so much happened, but he was really impressive. The distance he put him between himself and the pack from the second last line was really impressive. He beat Echo by 7 lengths. Like, he's gone up £12, but I think he deserves it. And like, in 2 years' time, I think this is going to be a smasher. I really do. But I think he's a very good horse that's going to get in here potentially off, 11 stone 2, and at around 14 or 16 to 1, I think Monte Cristo has got a big chance.
Tom, have you got a history of tipping big price winners in the Coral Cup? Is it one of your lucky races?
The Coral Cup, yeah, I've had a few winners over the years. One of Ferdy Murphy's not long ago. I mean, it must have been long ago. He's retired a few years ago, but yeah, and a few winners. Yeah, I like the Coral Cup. I like the top weight, Bruce. I think we were talking about maybe these races being quite top heavy, like Keels was talking about with the Boodles there. I quite like top weights in the Coral Cup. I think they've got William Henry ran one off a big weight the other year. I quite like Thomas Darby for Ollie Murphy. I think he was 2nd or 3rd, was he, in the Supreme? DJ, you'll remember. And I think
he was 2nd in the Supreme.
He was 2nd in the Supreme, and last year he gave weight. Again, he gave £7, and he absolutely demolished Song for Someone in an Ascot Handicap. Song for Someone has come on and won the International and looked a really good horse this year. He's only £2 higher than that. He's got good Cheltenham form. I like horses with Cheltenham form at the Cheltenham Festival. I think he's going to run a big race off top weight Thomas Darby. I would love a claimer on him. If you got a nice, good Kevin Brogan or someone on him, or claiming 5 off, I think he'd have a massive chance. But he is one that I will certainly be back. The other one I like is Botox Has, who's got very good Cheltenham form too. He beat All Mankind over the course at the start of the season. Gary Moore has trained him for this race since the start of the season, and I think they would be my 2. I'm quite sweet on Thomas Darby, if truth be told.
Okay, highlight of day 2 is the Betway Queen Mother Champion Chase. Takes place at 3:05. Chacun pour soi. Is he a good thing, or is he one to take on? David Jennings.
Yeah, of all the Willie Mullins favourites, Bruce, this is the one I fancy the most. I think it sounds bonkers, but I think he's got the least to beat. I think there's a really poor champion chase. To me, Altior can't win. He's too slow. Like, Nuba Negra is 3rd favourite. Politolog was found out, I thought, last time at Ascot. First Flow, I know Tom is a big fan of First Flow, but I just don't think he'll get into that sort of a rhythm that he did at Ascot here. And then you're into, horses like So Royal and Rouge Vif, who could run well, but they can't win, that kind of way. Chacun pour soi, to me, should be a lot shorter than he is. The only reason he's the price he is, 4 to 5 at the moment, is because he hasn't ran at Cheltenham. And to me, I have no fear about that. I think he's by far the most talented horse in the race at the moment, obviously.
Is it Chacun pour soi tick for you, Tom?
No, it's not, Bruce. It's not. There's something about him that is always going to... I'm going to go to my dying day taking on Chacun pour soi. He looks brilliant for 95% of the race. And then the last 5%, I sort of think, oh, is that it? Is that all you did off the bridle? And every time he's the same. And I just think if there's a track that's going to catch him out, it will be Cheltenham. I just wonder that he'll get to the lead jumping the last. And if he's not 3 lengths clear of some of these, I think they're going to charge at him. I could see Altior running a race. I really could. I think any horse that's won four times at the Cheltenham Festival, is unbeaten at Cheltenham, you're too quick to write him off just because he didn't run so well at Kempton last time. He could easily bounce back. And I think there's a few others in there. I know Keels is going to talk about Rouge Vif in a minute. I quite like So Royal, if the ground is all right. I think he's a different horse this year. I think his hurdles form showed that. If you go back to Foss Lass at the start of the season when he won the Welsh Champion hurdle, I think all the winners have come out of that. I mean, it's been a really strong race. And the key to him is he is finishing his races much stronger this year than he has all season. So I think I will take on Chacun pour soi. I expect him to win, but I wouldn't be backing him at the price he is for sure. There's just something in my back of my mind that says they're going to pick him up the straight.
What do you make of Chacun here, Kills?
I totally agree with DJ. To be honest, I think he'll win. I don't see what the problem with Cheltenham would be. I mean, the last race at Leopardstown was 2 mile, 1.5 furlongs, an extra furlong further. So I do just think he'll win, and I do think the rest of them are looking quite weak. I don't rate that Kempton form at all. Nubi Negra beating Altior, and if the ground dries out, Rouge Vif is the one you want to be backing without the fav, and it'll still be a decent price. Obviously he won over the Cheltenham fences early in the season when the ground wasn't so bad. Absolutely bolted up in a handicap. Just doesn't like soft ground, but if it comes out of decent ground, he'll run a big race. Okay,
if Monkfish and Chacun Pour Soi both win, you'd imagine there could be quite a bit of money going on to Easy's Land, the third supposed hot pot on the Wednesday. Let's see what the lads make of his chances in the cross country, and we'll start with Tom Segal.
I'm a bit different from everyone. I actually love the cross country, Bruce. Do you remember the old days? They used to say we go to the bar. I think it's a great race. I love it. I think Easy's Land is quite ground dependent, if truth be told. I think the thing that he needs is very soft ground. I think that's the key to him. I think if the ground is like it was when he got beaten at the start of the season, I think he's susceptible simply for the reason he didn't jump very well that day. He doesn't seem to operate anywhere near as well in good ground as he does in soft. Unlike that race, this is a handicap. This is not a handicap, though, so he's clearly got a great chance. I could see Tiger Roll running really well again. I really could. I think he's the danger. I think the better the ground, the better he is. I didn't think he ran anywhere near as badly as people said the other day. And between the two and at the prices, I'd definitely be in the Tiger camp.
You've come around to it now a bit, haven't you? Well, you watch it.
I watch it, yeah. I mean, that's it. But I genuinely don't care all that much, to be honest.
Okay.
Some neck will probably run well, but that's that. There ends my interest. I mean, if you want to actually ask someone who's delved into the race, you better not come at me.
Honestly, believe me, that is him liking it more than he used to be venomous towards it. DJ, do you
not like Easy's Land, Tiger Roll and those horses? How can you not be interested in that race, Keels?
It's a boring race, isn't it? Just go round and round in little circles for ages.
Blimey, if you got boring races, wait till we get to the mares' races. That's good. This is good.
Don't start with, but there's plenty of races at the meeting that I would boot off.
DJ,
there's another one this day.
Where's your enthusiasm for this, DJ? Is there a good bet for us?
I think Tiger Roll will win, and I think they'll retire him on the spot.
Okay. Nothing more to say? That'll do. 4:15, the Johnny Henderson Grand Annual, the 2 mile chase. Always fast and furious and always difficult to find the winner. And we'll start with you, Kills. Now, you've loved Sky Pirate all season. What do you think he's going to do here?
Well, he's 6-1 at the moment. He'll be 16-1 on the machine on the day, I think, with the bookies. I loved him, but he got campaigned like a horse that wasn't being campaigned for Cheltenham. So he went flying up the handicap, then ran like an absolutely knackered horse at Warwick when he got beat by All Mankind. And I can't understand his position in the market. I don't fancy him at all anymore.
Okay.
I'll be absolutely delighted to be wrong.
Who do you
I really
fancy?
like the look of Joseph O'Brien's in Tukas. I thought he was fourth to the Wave of the Sea at the Dublin Racing Festival, was really eye-catching. He's got another interesting one in there, and Embittered as well, O'Brien. But I think Tukas is the one for me.
How about you, DJ?
Tukas, Bruce. Keels got in there first. This horse, I think he's had the Grand Annual as his ultimate aim all season, and he's ran in kind of real competitive handicaps where he's needed to jump well, and they've got rid of the mistakes. I thought last time at Leopardstown was the best he's ever jumped. I spoke to Joseph O'Brien about this horse before he even ran over fence, and I said, Joseph, I think this is a Grade 1 chaser in the making. He didn't disagree with me. That was before he jumped the fence. I think it's been a gradual progression for Tukas. People might think he's been disappointing. Peak on one day and one day only, and I think that's the Grand Annual. He's rated 143 now in England. He's 139 in Ireland. I think he's at least 150 rated chaser, so he's got £7 to play around with. If there's one better handicap than him, they'll beat him, but I definitely think he's got £7 to play around with. So Tukas for me. 2 votes
for Tukas. Is it 3 votes for Tukas, Tom?
Most certainly not, Bruce. Most certainly not. I don't like horses that never win. I think he's won 1 maiden hurdle in his life. Everyone keeps telling me what a great horse he is. Now he's been campaigned for this one race. I hope they're right, because he hasn't shown me much the last few times he's run. can't see it myself. I prefer Embittered of the Joseph O'Brien runners, but I like Zanza in this, Bruce, for Philip Hobbs and Richard Johnson. If you go back to the Sky Pirate race, Keels' favourite race at the start of the season when Sky Pirate was dropped back to 2 miles for the first time. He stopped the race 3 out. There's only one winner. Zanza was going to win it. And he did one of those silly sort of crumpling falls at the third last up there. He's not run since, but he's been kept on the same mark, 145. The winner, Sky Pirate's gone up £18. The second, Ibleo's won twice since, gone up £17. They're both in it again against him. Zanza's been trained for this one day. I think he's going to run a big race. I really like him. If it was run at Newbury, I think he'd win, and I think he'd be the bet of the festival. At Cheltenham, I'm slightly concerned because he's not quite put up his Newbury form there, but I still think he's the best handicapped horse in the race, and I think he'll go really close.
OK, the Wednesday card concludes at 4:50 with the Weatherby's Champion bumper. Looks like a 2-horse race on the book, Kilcruit versus Sir Gerhard. Who are you going to side with, DJ?
Kilcruit of those at the top of the market, Bruce. I know everybody thought visually it was too good to be true, and then the clock backed it up, but he could have won by much further than he did. Everybody in the yard loves him. David Mullins used to ride him out. He loved him. Patrick rides him out now. He loves him. They all absolutely love him. So, and he's a bit older, and he's got a bit of experience under his belt. So, I think he's going to be very hard to beat. I'm just going to throw in one at a massive price because I could just see her travelling so well during the race. Brooklyn Glory ran in the Mayor's Bumper at Leopardstown at Dublin Racing Festival, and it was her first run for a long time, and she just travelled like a dream and then blew up, I thought. Just given the allowance that she gets and the fact that looks like she's going, she's 33 to 1 with Bet365. I think she's got loads of ability, and I think she could run well.
Tom, what's your bumper banker?
3 Stripe Life, Bruce. Really fancy it. Really fancy 3 Stripe Life for Sneezy Foster. I am against Kilcruit. I've seen so many times, I've seen flat races like that one, Derby trials and won by 10 lengths. And, the time wasn't brilliant. They all fell in a hole around him on very bad ground. Want to take him on. Sir Gerhard's had the trainer switch and all that kind of stuff. I think 3 Stripe Life's going to run really well. If you look at the top speed figures, he's top on the top speed figures. He's only won once, but he absolutely hacked up. I think it was at Nace. I'm not sure, but I'm a big fan of 3 Stripe Life. I think he'll win. I think he'll beat the other 2.
OK, Keels, have you got a strong view?
No, not really. I mean, I don't like, I agree with what Tom said about Kilcruit. I think Sir Gerhard's the most likely winner. I don't care all that much. I don't really follow bumpers.
OK.
And, when we started having Grade 1 bumpers at the end of the season, we were just encouraging young horses to stay on the flat for an entire year. I don't get it. Just don't need it.
Oh, OK, fair enough. Let's see what the lads think is the Wednesday banker. We'll start with David Jennings.
Brave Man's Game in the Ballymore.
Good man, DJ. Tom?
I'm going to have a few quid on Thomas Darby in the Coral Cup, the top weight.
And Paul Kealy?
I'm going to say Bob Ollinger in the Ballymore, I'm afraid.
OK. OK, we move on to Thursday. Another fantastic day in store, obviously, with 2 big races to come. We start off at 1:20 with the Marsh Novices Chase. Is this the moment that Envoi Allen proves himself to be the second coming? He's very, very short, but on what he's done, there's a very good reason for that. How good is he, Tom Segal?
It's hard to know, actually, on form. I think he's a superstar. I just think he's got something different about him. The way he does things is like different from most horses on form. It's hard to make him out to be the superstar. I don't think the Ballymore form last year is brilliant by any stretch of the imagination. I think the bumper he looked really good. I think he'll win this. I just think it's a weak race, Bruce. I think of all the novice chases, this is the easiest one to win. It's even easier than the Monkfish race, I think. I think Shan Bleu will be second to him. And those looking for one from left field, I thought Darva Starr, if he moved into this race from the Arkle and the ground was good, I think he'll enjoy the step up in trip. And I think at a big price, he could hit the frame. But I think Envoy Allen will win. I
think Tom's point there, Kills, the race could be so comparatively weak that he could win it, and we still don't know how good he is.
Yeah, I mean, I've backed a couple of each way of him. Anti-Post, Chapman Street lad who bolted up in the handicap there not so long ago, and Chamblou, who I think will win or finish second. I mean, what will catch him out is if the ground dries out a lot, because he's supposed to really like soft ground, and the fact that he hasn't had a race for a year. and his problem, it's not really his fault because he won 2 Grade 1s, but he's barely run against Grade 2 worthy opposition, let alone Grade 1. The only really good horse he ran against was Asterion Forlonge, who lasted precisely 1 fence. And the horse he beat in that last race, Feed You Dare E, he won 3.5 lengths. He finished, I think, something like 18 lengths behind Asterion Forlonge when Asterion Forlonge stood up next time, but Asterion Forlonge was 26 lengths behind Monkfish. So, you can't look at it and say that's brilliant form. OK, he's done it easily, but he hasn't actually been asked to race. And if you remember, he got taken off the bridle in what Tom said wasn't a great Ballymore last year. He got taken off the bridle, traded at bigger than 3-1 turnover home. He might get found out because Chamblou isn't going to take any prisoners up front. He's one of those horses that just jumps spectacularly well for a novice. And we've seen time and time again how well horses go from the front in 2.5 mile chases at Cheltenham.
DJ, are the boys being doubting Thomases here? Should they keep the faith in the Envoi?
Yeah, I think Envoi will win, Bruce. Simple as that.
OK, fine. We move on then to the second race, which is the Temps Network Final over 3 miles. Always a tough test, this. Let's get Paul Kealy's view.
Yeah, I mean, the key race, I think, is the qualifier at Warwick fairly recently, won by Imperial Alcazar and Come On Teddy. Now, I know DJ absolutely loves Imperial Alcazar, who won the race, but I cannot get the difference in price between the two, given Come On Teddy, who's third, is going to be £8 better off. He's won round Cheltenham. He absolutely cruised round there, and he won there the time before. I think he's absolutely perfect, and he's a double-figure price. And Imperial Alcazar's about 6-1. Don't get the price difference. He would definitely be in the frame.
OK, perhaps DJ can explain the price difference.
I can, yeah. This horse at the minute, there's still some 6-1 out there. I think he'll go off closer to 6-4, Bruce. I can't for the life of me understand why he's 6-1. I think when people realise just how poor this race is, they're going to get stuck into Imperial Alcazar. I think he could have given Come On Teddy £18 at Warwick.
I am a massive, hang on a minute, I am a massive fan of Fergal O'Brien, right? But there's no way that Fergal O'Brien's going to train a 6-4 favourite in a 20-runner handicap at the Cheltenham Festival. Put a lid on it, DJ.
I don't want to be misquoted here. I said I think he'd be closer to 6-4 than he will be to 6-1.
OK, so he's got to be 7-2 or shorter. All right,
he ain't going to be.
I can see a massive plunge on this horse. I really can. To me, he's kind of a 1.5, a grade 1.5 hurdler. I think he's I think if he ran the stairs hurdle, he finished in the first 5. That's how good I think he is. Qualifiers have a terrible record in the race. I know that, but these stats are here to be broken.
And Tom, follow that. Will Imperial Alcazar justify DJ's faith in him?
I think he's got a very good chance. I agree with the boys about the Warwick qualifier. I think that's probably the key form. I would throw in Honest Vic as well at the top there. I just thought that when he won at the start of the season, it was seriously impressive. He then ran against Paisley Park and Time Hill in the race at Newbury, the proper good staying, and he wasn't far from disgracing that, finished 5th. He's had a blowout on the all-weather since. I think he's been targeted at the race, and he's only giving Imperial Alcazar a couple of pounds. So I would throw him in at a big price on his Vic, but I do probably think that one of those two the boys have mentioned are the ones to concentrate on.
OK, we move on to Ryanair now, the 2:30. And DJ, I fancy one here that I never thought I would fancy for this race. Dashel Drasher. Am I mad?
No, he's a very likeable horse. Yeah, he's certainly got a big chance, and he's probably underrated. He was quite impressive at Ascot. Look, the one I've liked for some time for this race since the start of the season is Mr. Fisher. I thought giving Kalashnikov £3 in the Peterborough Chase was a really, really strong performance, and he's a type of horse that's only going to get better, Bruce. I think this time next year he's going to be an absolute corker of a horse, and I think his run in the Peterborough Chase could be one of the best lines of form. So Mr. Fisher for me.
DJ's been banging that drum for ages. Let's hope he can get the business done for him. Tom, this is an interesting one, isn't it?
Yeah, I love this race, Bruce. The problem about it, I think it's probably the hardest race of the whole festival. I think there's seven or 8 are about the same price, all below 10-1 in the market. You can make cases for all of them. I'm a massive Dashel Drasher fan. I'm just worried that he had a hard race at Ascot last time and he can bounce back from that. That would be against him. If he was to turn up and be a big price, I'd be on him. I'm in the Mellon camp, believe it or not. I know he's only won, having been against that in Tukas the other day, a few minutes ago, for saying he doesn't win very often. Mellon doesn't win very often, but he was in front before and after the line in the Marsh here last last year. I think if he can get out front and jump like he does, because I think he's an absolutely superb jumper, I think it'll take a really good hard horse to get past him if he's in the same form he was at Christmas.
Love the melon. Who do you love here, Keels?
I'm a big Mr. Fisher fan. I think that's a big career best in the Peterborough Chase. Obviously, Kalashnikov come out and finished third in the Denman. Clondor Castle was third, who bolted up in that handicap with Kempton. It's really, really strong form. He's only 7. He was third in the Marsh last year, but he's 2 years younger than the other two. It just, to me, he should be fav.
What's the word on Min? Because that was so unlike him, wasn't it? Didn't he complete last time?
I have no idea what was wrong with Min there last time, and the only other evidence we've got on him was that race in the fog. And to be honest, you can't rate that very high. So I think Min is probably slightly on the downgrade, and I don't think Allaho's fast enough for that on goodish ground. So I think Mr. Fisher should be fav. 2
votes for Mr. Fisher, and I fancy Dashel Drasher. And Tom likes good old melon. It's a great 40 minutes of racing this, because after the Ryanair at 3:05 we've got the Stayers Hurdle sponsored by Paddy Power, and it's Time Hill versus Paisley Park. What's his 5th, 6th battle? They've had plenty down the years, haven't they? Tom, will they contest it, or will something else come out and beat them?
No, I think there's plenty in there, Bruce. I really do. I think it's not just a 2-horse race. I don't know what to make of Paisley Park. I thought he was well beat last time at Ascot, and then sort of the turbo kicked in late on, and he got up from Time Hill. I think on better ground, I would fancy Time Hill to reverse that form. I just don't know what to make of him these days. He looks like he's going to hit a massive flat spot. If he's in the form he was 2 years ago, then of course he can win, but I'm against him. I think Time Hill is probably the most likely winner. I'd throw in Flooring Porter as an outsider that would have a chance, simply because of the fact that I think he's underestimated. He's won his last 2 by miles. He thrashed Sire de Burley last time. Everyone's saying that Sire de Burley wasn't off and that he'll come, and he's got all his Cheltenham form. But I just think Flooring Porter's a big improver. I'm slightly worried that he'll hang across the track. But if I was to say, I think Time Hill will win and Flooring Porter each way.
Keels, what do you think?
I don't know where you got these phantom matches between Paisley Park and Time Hill. Time Hill was a novice last year. They won twice. It's 1-1.
All right.
There you go. Interesting. The interesting one for me is Fury Road, who was third to Monkfish in the Albert Bartlett last year, 1 place ahead of Time Hill. Now, he's had 3 runs this season. He won very easily on his return, and then he got well beat at Leopardstown, and he's never run well at Leopardstown in his life. He came back out next time, finished second, just got nabbed on the line, having looked all over the winner. Purely set up for this race. He'll come on an absolute ton for it. If you look at just how good that Albert Bartlett form is, the fact that Time Hill's 3-1 and he's 20-1, just in case of wrong price. Surely.
Interesting. DJ, are you going to focus on the front 2 or look elsewhere?
No, I'm going to focus on Sire de Burley, Bruce. I think last year's Pertemps final is the strongest piece of form in this race by a considerable margin. The time was 3 seconds faster than the Stayers Hurdle, and the form of it to beat the Storyteller, given the Storyteller £3, who has since won a Grade 1, and the 4th horse home that day was Third Wind. Third Wind is now rated 153, ran in that race off 141. I think Sire de Burley is the perfect horse you want for this race, so he will do for me.
Lovely stuff. The 340 is the Paddy Power Plate. God, it's another difficult one this Thursday card. Really is a tester. Who's going to go first? We'll go with Tom first for the plate.
As you say, Bruce, really hard, like Novices, as you say, as we said earlier in these handicaps, Conflated would be on there, and the horse that Keel said was flattered to finish so close to Envoy Alan Field, Do Dairy. I think he'll run well in this race too.
Okay, Keels.
Yeah, I think Farclas ran a really big race last time. I think he's got a shot. Not a race I've gone massively deep into at the moment, though.
DJ, have you had a good old study up?
Sure, I'd love Umbergado to run again here. If he comes out after the Newbury performance with a £5 penalty, I think he's got a cracking chance. And Conflated would be the other one. If Jordan Gainford maybe or somebody rode this and took weight off, he's not far off Grade 1 level over fences, so he'd have a chance. But I just really hope Umbergado runs.
DJ, just stick with you for a sec. Do you remember every year, who was that mare of Mullins's that used to be entered in about 8 different races? What was she called now? She could run chases, she could run hurdles. Can't think of her name. Had a queue.
Benny, did you? Vroom Vroom Mag?
Vroom Vroom Mag, of course. Lovely Vroom Vroom Mag. This year's Vroom Vroom Mag is the shunter, who every single race I look at is entered in. Can you just do me a favour, please, and tidy up? Where's that one likely to run?
Well, I know the owner.
That's why I asked you.
He hasn't a clue. He really doesn't. Like, they're giving it plenty of thought, and it's $100,000 bonus, so they're right to give it plenty of thought. I don't know. If he was mine, I think I'd probably run him in the Grand Annual, if he was mine, but he could run anywhere, absolutely anywhere. I have no idea.
OK, well, 4:15 at Cheltenham on Thursday is the Parnell Properties Mares Novices Hurdle. Keels, one of your favourite races of the whole festival.
Yes, it actually was last year because I managed to back Concertito at a decent price.
Are you putting one up here, or is this one whizzing through to the wicket keeper?
I see. Just look, Willie Mullins has won 14 of the 18 mares races at the festival, so have a look at what he's got. Hook Up was really eye-catching last time. He's going to end up being, he's going to be favourite. I think she is now. But no, I haven't had a massive look at it. OK, does this race do it for you, DJ?
Yeah, it's quite interesting. I think Glens of Antrim is intriguing. I'd say she by far works the best out of all these. It's just her jumping has let her down, but as we know, there's only 2 hurdles in the final 7 furlongs here, so that'll play to her strengths. I think she's got a big chance. I had fancied Hook Up, but the price, like 5-1 now, I think that's too short, so I'd favour Glens of Antrim.
Tom, have you got strong thoughts on this one?
No. Can I do a Keels and the Third Amendment? I can't stand these mares races.
OK, yeah, that's fine. OK, we wrap up on Thursday at 4:50 with the Falk Walwyn Kinmure over 3 miles and 2 furlongs. There's no let-up here. This is a really hard card, this, isn't it? DJ, do us a favour and solve the Kinmure puzzle.
Yeah, I like Dacia Abba, Bruce. One of the things I like at the festival is horses that have ran in races the previous year and ran well. He was 5th in it last year. He was just a bit of a baby. It wasn't man enough when they turned in. But I liked his run at Sandown. He's off the same marker here of 142. And I think he's decent each way value at around 14-1.
Thanks, DJ. Tom Segal?
I did like Run Wild Fred a lot, but it seems like everyone else does because he's been backed off the boards in the last few days. He's still the one I think's got a great chance, but there's loads in there. Like DJ says, D's Aber, I think Jerry's Back might run in this, and I think Time to Get Up for John Joe O'Neill's got a good chance too.
Paul Kealy?
Yeah, going for a veteran. I mean, DJ was talking about course form. How about Shantou Flyer, who's won at the track a couple of times? He's been placed off marks and handicaps in the high and the mid 150s, including second to Q-Star Civila in the Ultima in 2018. He's been second and third in the last 2 Fox Hunters as well. So the only time he's been out of the first 4 at Cheltenham was when he fell behind Manila Rocco in a national hunt race. He's now with Paul Nichols. He's had 2 runs at Wincanton and he's shaped very well in both of them. Got put up £5 for the second one. They complained they got £1 back from the handicapper. He's now on a mark of 140. I cannot see him finishing out of the frame.
We couldn't go through this without you tipping an old favourite, could we? Excellent. That's Thursday. We'll get the naps. Tom, if you only had one bet on Thursday, who would it be on?
My good friend Mellon, Bruce.
Good man in the Ryanair. Keels?
God, it's tough because I like a lot of this day. I really do like this day. I'm going to say, Come On Teddy.
OK, and that is
in the Pertemps.
In the Pertemps. And I think that might be your race as well, DJ, mightn't it?
Oh, yeah, mine is Imperial Alcazar, Bruce.
OK, let's move on then to Friday. Gold Cup Day kicks off as ever with the Triumph Hurdle, sponsored by JCB. And it's Tritonic and Zanahiyr dominating the market. Will they dominate the race? Paul Kealy, start off. Who do you like out of those 2?
Yeah, I'm a massive fan of Tritonic, especially as the forecast suggests it's going to dry out and be.
That's the one thing we think we can be.
Yeah,
semi-confident
I think.
on.
I mean, you don't know. It can change, can't it? It always can do. I would say this is one of the latest times of the year that the Cheltenham Festival ever falls, and in 4 of the last 5 times when Friday has been the 16th or later, it has been good ground on the Friday.
Wow.
So I mean, there is there is a precedent, I suppose. But yeah, I just he has run against and run well against group horses on the flat. And been second at Royal Ascot. He was second to a Group 1 winner at Hamilton. And I don't know why people are picking holes in his jumping. He jumps perfectly okay. No, it's very, very rare for any novice to meet absolutely every hurdle, absolutely bang spot on. Look at the way he jumped the last at Kempton and then really, really quickened away. He's got that group class speed. He's got 2 hurdles in the last 7 furlongs anyway. A long hill to run up, which he will absolutely grab. And I just think he'll be miles too fast for everything else.
I'll tell you what as well, Kills, if Tritonic wins, that's the sort of horse we want to come into the hurdling pool, and which hasn't really happened so much. Like, horses with a bit of class on the flat.
When it comes to money and prize money in racing, if you've got a horse rated 100, right, if you can race it in Australia or sell it for $500,000 to go to Hong Kong or sell it to Australia, that's what you're going to do. It's as simple as that. And there's an all-weather program as well. There isn't as much money in that, obviously, but it's very rare to get horses this good. And those horses that good to jump as well. Like, you remember the days of Royal Gate just came in, Alderbrook come in and they win, after a couple of runs, they win champion hurdles. They were even better. But this horse is good and he jumps.
DJ, do you agree with Keels about Tritonic?
I couldn't disagree more with Keels, and I love the man to bits. I think this is ridiculous, the betting on this race. Everybody is jumping up and down about Tritonic being this 99 rated flat horse going over hurdles. I think Zanahiyr would have been rated 100 or would have been rated 100 or over if they kept him on the flat. To me, this horse is just head and shoulders above these. Everything he's done, the clock backs it up, his jumping, the way he travels in his races, how much he finds off the bridle. To me, he has very few flaws, and I think he's one of the better horses that's going to go for the Triumph Hurdle.
He's done it all on bottomless ground, though, DJ, hasn't he? He's done it all on bottomless ground.
Yeah, you can point to the ground. That's one thing that you'd have to have a little issue with would be the ground. But I don't know, like when he won at Fairyhouse, the ground was good to yielding on the flat, and he was fine that day, and his action was perfect.
So to me, if they'd have met in November on the flat in a match, it would have been 6 on Tritonic, and you're basically getting evens each of 2 for this race. With some extra for the fact that there's actually other runners. But so to me, obviously Zanahiyr has improved, but Tritonic, we know that he was he had £20 better form on the flat. He's just a better horse.
I like. He's moved to Gordon Elliott and now Sneezy Foster, obviously Zanahiyr, but I just think the horse was a big raw horse, whereas Tritonic wasn't raw, he had plenty of experience on the flat. I just think Zanahiyr should be 5-4.
Tom, you can have the casting vote.
This is the race of the festival for me, Bruce. I cannot wait. I think the match-up between these two is like a heavyweight boxing fight. I cannot wait. I want no more. The one horse I want to win most at the festival is Tritonic. I just am so bored of the same 2 trainers winning all the races. And I think if Alan King hasn't had a winner since Uxie Zandra a few years ago, he's a brilliant trainer. We saw that at Royal Ascot. I want new blood to have the best horses and have really good horses. So I would love Tritonic to win. I think it is even each of 2. I can't see anything else winning. I think that it's between those 2. I do agree with DJ that going on the flat racings is a little bit misleading because, like him, I think Zanahiyr was getting better, and I think he would have been rated as similar to Tritonic in a few months later on down the season. Personally, I'd love Tritonic to win. I can't choose between the 2. I've backed Tritonic at a big price, so I'm all in with him, but I just can't wait for it. I think it's a brilliant race.
I don't remember Sneezy Foster having too many winners at Cheltenham. Okay.
No, sorry.
The 155 on Friday at Cheltenham is the McCoy Contractors County Hurdle. As usual, this is difficult. You can probably shop around now. You can get double figure prices about any runner. Which of them will win? Tom Segal.
Two. It's very easy, this race, Bruce. No need to look any further. Third Time Lucky and Ganapathy. If they run, they'll dominate the race.
Fantastic. I love that. A nice big difficult 2-mile hurdle being just consolidated into that 5-second soundbite. Is Tom right, Kills?
I like Third Time Lucky, but a guy contacted me on Twitter the other day, asked me about a horse called Eclair de Buffo, and I sent him a message saying straight back, I was saying there's no way the handicapper will let him run off that sort of mark over hurdles compared to his chase mark. Now, he was second last year in the Grand Annual off a mark of 149, and he was rated 135 over hurdles in Ireland. Now, I thought, the British handicapper normally puts you much closer to your hurdle, to your chase mark. But he's only put him on 139. So he's £4 higher. And I think a horse is now rated 153 over fences, running off a stone lower. He shaped really, really well last time over hurdles at Leopardstown. and he wants better ground that he's going to get. I think he's going to be a massive player.
DJ, is there any chance of Saudi running in this?
He's really interesting because he's got that back class. But the one that I like, and I think he could be this year's Saint-Roi, is Magic Tricks. He's running off a mark of 137, and who ran off 137 last year? Saint-Roi, 132 in Ireland. I just think he's been crying out for better ground. He's a brother to Abracadabras, and to me, he's the one that's going to sneak under the radar, and I think he's got a lot of talent. Magic Tricks.
Thanks, DJ. We'll stick with you for the first crack at the 2:30, the Albert Bartlett Novices Hurdle over 3 miles. Another open race as far as the betting goes. Let's see what the boys fancy. We'll start with you, David.
Yeah, I'm not going to keep it too long here, Bruce. I think this is a nightmare of a race. The two that I like are Ashdale Bob, who I thought scoped dirty last time at Leopardstown. I put a line through that run. His previous form is quite good. He's 25 to 1 Bet365. And the other one that at a shorter price is Fakira, but Ashdale Bob has already beaten him by 6 lengths. So at the prices, I'd be with Ashdale Bob.
Interesting. Tom?
I like Tory Graf, Bruce. I think his form keeps getting, he's only running 2 small field races, but his form keeps getting franked. People keep telling me that you need a lot of experience, and I agree with that. But when you're good enough, you're good enough. And I think he's getting better. We've seen that with Manila Indo, Monkfish, Bobsworth. If you're a top class horse, and I think Tory Graf is, I just think he'll win.
Okay. You used to have a pet stat for this race, didn't you? Have you chucked it out?
Yeah, it was very well. I haven't really chucked it out, but it's just total sod's law, isn't it? I mean, I looked through it. You just saw that you needed a lot of experience, and that means having run in points, bumpers, a lot of runs. And then the first time I came out with this, along came Manila Indo to win the race with the least experience of any previous winner, which is so typical. And then, of course, last year, again, the winner, Monkfish, hadn't had as many runs. But when I looked at the ones with the real low number of runs go on to be exceptionally good horses, so it's a barometer of how good they are. I don't think this is a particularly good race this year, so I am going back. I like Alaphilippe, who ran in about half a dozen points, has improved with every single run over hurdles, absolutely hacked up at Haydock last time, and although he hasn't run on good ground, he only won a point when he hit good ground, so he might even be better for that.
Who is Alaphilippe named after, Kills?
Absolutely no idea.
Really? You've never heard of Julien Alaphilippe?
No.
What sport do you reckon it could be? I'll give you a clue. Me and Tom love it.
Oh, cycling?
Yeah.
Oh, right. How would I know
Julien
that?
Alaphilippe. He's
Never
incredible. If the horse gets up the hill as well as the cyclist does, he's got a great chance.
Well,
okay, let's
that's why
move
they
on
named
without
it.
further ado to the race of the week. 3:05. It's the Well Child Cheltenham Gold Cup. Great to see the race being run in the name of this fantastic charity, Well Child. Should be really, really interesting. Album Photo going for a hat-trick in the race. And we'll start with you, Kills. Will he get the job done?
He might do. I mean, he's in pole position. He's, you could say he's got the best form, but he's been there and he's done it twice. But he's 5-2. Does a neck win from Santini suggest anybody else should be running scared? Doesn't for me. So I've actually backed Santini, funny enough. I think if he gets decent ground, this will be the first time he's had 3 runs to his name going into the race. I know they haven't all been good, but I don't think they've been that bad. And he just loves Cheltenham. He's obviously been placed at 3 festivals. He's won twice at the trials meeting, so I think he'll run well. I think A Plus Tard is probably the most likely winner. A horse good enough to beat Chacun Bassois over 2 miles. Suddenly just showed that he stays 3 miles. Has a bit of the sizing John about him, doesn't he? So I think those 2 for me.
Okay. David Jennings. First of all, I want to ask you what you made of Champ with that return at Newbury over 2 miles. I mean, he jumped brilliantly, didn't he? Is that the sort of run that could lead to a Gold Cup win for you, or are you going to look elsewhere?
I think so, Bruce. He's had a win. He was landing running at his fences I really liked. To me, he looked a different horse than he was last year. And I just wonder, he's not a popper. He doesn't really pop his fences. So Nico was going to have to fire him into plenty of them. But I do think he's got the most ability in the race. What I will say is I think either A Plus Tard or Champ will win. I think the Album Photo faces a different type of opposition this year. And I think he'll be found out for all that he's been a spectacular racehorse over the last couple of years. But for me, it's Champ, Bruce.
Okay, Tom, who wins the Gold Cup?
I'm all in on A Plus Tard, Bruce. I'm like DJ said there. I'm massively against Album Photo. Don't know whether it's his name or whether we never see him or whatever. But I just can't warm to him. I don't know why. I think the form of last year's race is very, very moderate in comparison to this one. think he's facing two horses that are, we've got Champ that ran well in a Grade 2. We've got over 2 miles, and we've got A Plus Tard that beat Chacun Pour Soi over 2 miles. We know they stay. So he's up against much faster, much better horses. I think he'll struggle. I think it's between A Plus Tard and Champ, and I'm in the A Plus Tard camp.
Okay, it's a fascinating race. 3:40 on the Friday is the Hunter Chase, the St James Palace Festival Challenge Open Hunters Chase, to give it its full title, over the Gold Cup course for the amateurs. David Jennings, who do you think is going to win this?
I like Nichols. He's lightly raced. He's a 10-year-old, but he's lightly raced. And he ran in the race last year. Again, one of them teams that I love, horses that ran in the race previously. But Enda Bulger's had a clean run with him this year, and he hasn't for the last couple of years. He doesn't have that much ground to make up in Billaway from their run at Naas, where I thought he was running the slowest part of the track. To me, he's the overpriced one in the race. Staker Wallace.
Staker Wallace for David Jennings. Who for Tom Segal?
Can't work out Billaway, Bruce. I think he's the worst value of any horse at the Cheltenham Festival. I mean, I'm not a great Hunter Chase man, but, every time he runs against It Came to Pass beats him out of sight. I just don't get it. I would think the last year's winner, It Came to Pass, as I say, has a good chance. And I think Harry Cobden might ride Shammeron rather than the second favourite Bob & Co. And I think at a decent price, a horse, a young, improving horse with lots of ones by its name, Shammeron, which I think might be owned by Paul Nichols. Might go well. Shammeron and It Came to Pass for me.
Okay, and Keels.
I barely heard of any of those they mentioned, to be honest. Not my sort of thing, Hunter Chases. I just had a quick scroll down there and I saw Cad du Burlay had finished 5th in it 3 years ago and not finished the last 2 years, but he don't like soft ground. And I know he's a 12-year-old, but I used to like him. So if I have a bet in it, it might be him. But it won't be anything to do with form.
I think that's one of your least. Yeah, that's one of your least convincing tips. But I do have a theory that the weaker the case, sometimes the better the tip. So we'll see. 4:15, new race, the Mrs. Paddy Power Mares Chase over 2.5 miles. Not everyone was happy to see this race being introduced, but I think it's all right. I think it's decent. Tom, has it excited you?
Not one bit, Bruce. Not one bit. Couldn't care less.
Really?
Ellie May's going to win, she, and we can move on.
No, I don't agree with that. I've actually dug one out here. Shattered Love.
Go for it.
I know I do the presenting and you do the tipping, but I just thought if you're going to create a race that gives Shattered Love a chance to win again at the festival, this is it. I think she's got a huge weight pull with Ellie May for that run last time. I just thought each way she's a really interesting price. Keels.
Yeah, I totally agree. She's she may be 10, but that run last time was over 2 mile, and on Racing Post ratings, that's the best she's ever run over 2 mile. She needs a good deal further than that. She won what is now the Marsh a few years ago, didn't she? She did. I think she's a massive player. She can't be out of frame.
Good. I like that endorsement. DJ, can you give me further confidence with Shattered Love? Are you going to shatter my confidence?
I can see your point. I can see where you're coming from. The trip, the fact that she's won at the track, and there's a lot to like about her chances. I just think Ellie May is a little dinger. Like, she's not big and she just gets the job done. She comes there in great form. I hope Colreevy runs here. She's entered the Limerick on Sunday. I don't know what Willie Mullins is going to do, but I think no matter what happens, it's going to be very hard to beat Ellie May.
Okay, and the curtain comes down at 4:50 on Friday with the Martin Pipe Conditional Jockeys Handicap Hurdle. Let's see who's going to win what could be the getting out stakes for some or the icing on the cake for others. David Jennings, have you got one for us?
Originally, I was fancying wide receiver for this, Bruce, and I was very keen on him. I'm not sure. The vibes recently there doesn't seem to be much talk about him, so hopefully he'll turn up, because I think he'd have a great chance if he did. I think he's well handicapped. If he doesn't turn up, Gentleman the Me seems to be the buzz horse at the moment. He's a very short price, 11-2 now, but all the vibes seem to be very strong about Gentleman the Me.
Tom Segal, what do you look for in a Martin Pipe winner?
Strong stayer, Bruce. Always a strong stayer. I think come the end of these conditionals, they go too fast. We've had, lots of three. I think Fields' favourite horse, Dom Slowly, won it, didn't he, 1 year? I think you just need a really, really strong stayer. The one I like, won over 3 miles at the Leopardstown at the Dublin Racing Festival, Maze Runner for Willie Mullins. I know there's been money for him for the Coral Cup. I'd be surprised if he run there. I think he'll run here because it was claimer ridden. Conor McNamara rode him at the Dublin Racing Festival. I think dropping back to 2 miles 5 here gives him a massive chance. He split Band of Outlaws and Cocoa Beach as a juvenile, and I just think he's well handicapped.
Okay, talking a strong stayers, you three have stayed the trip very well. Let's get the final tip from Paul Kealy.
Yeah, I mean, not a massive fancy by any stretch, but I think at an each-way price, Eglantine de Soy, who's now with Nichols, obviously won the Mayor's Novice a couple of years ago. She actually runs Cheltenham very, very well. I don't think she wants the bad ground she's been running on. She's dropped nicely down the weights.
Okay, the Friday naps, Tom?
Aploutard, all over Aploutard, Bruce.
In the Gold Cup. Paul?
Tritonic just wins.
Okay, and DJ?
Zana here in the Triumph.
Okay, the head-to-head between Kealy and Jennings on the Triumph. And lads, very quickly before I let you go, what's your nap of the week? The one horse that you're most looking forward to backing? Paul?
Yeah, Lieutenant Rocco in the Ultima on Tuesday.
Thank you very much. DJ?
Okay. Imperial Alcazar in the 155 on Thursday, the Pertemps final.
And last word to you, Tom.
They say that a 5-1 winner at Southall plays the same as the 5-1 winner of the Gold Cup, Bruce, but I'm not having that. I would love it if Aploutard won the Gold Cup. Can't wait.
Fantastic. Thank you very much to Tom, to DJ and to Keel. Some great wisdom there. I hope that's given you plenty of food for thought and plenty of ammunition for what should be a fantastic week. No crowds, but the racing will be fantastic. It always is. Don't forget to stick with the Racing Post every day throughout the festival. And most importantly, don't forget, although it's very easy to get carried away, bet safely and don't get to Friday night thinking you got carried away and you've lost more than you should do. But have a fantastic week. Thanks so much for tuning in to our Cheltenham preview.